Hello and welcome back to our channel. I'm Colleen and this is Our Blessed Life, and today I'm going to be showing you Sophie's curriculum for next year, the 2021-2022 school year. Before we get started, I just want to clarify, for those of y'all that are not regular viewers of our channel, Sophie has special needs. She has a rare genetic condition called SETD5. She will be a third grader next year, but she's really going to be on a first grade and second grade level in certain subjects. So she is finishing up some of her first grade materials and will be moving into second grade materials for some of her subjects, and then she'll be on a regular third grade level in other subjects. So I'm just kind of go subject by subject and show you what we're going to be using. So I'm going to start with math. So Sophie is currently in Rod and Staff Arithmetic 1. She is around lesson like 124. So she's not going to finish this before we finish school in the next couple of weeks, but she will probably finish this by probably the third or fourth week of August. So she'll be starting the year finishing up this book, and then she'll be moving to Rod and Staff Arithmetic 2. I really love Rod and Staff. It's very repetitive. So if you have a child that struggles in math, struggles to memorize math facts, anything like that, this is really a perfect solution. This is just good old-fashioned basic math. There's no bells or whistles here. It's, you know, let me show you some of the pages. It's not colorful or fancy by any stretch, but it's just good old-fashioned math with enough memorization that even with a special needs child, I'm not having to use any kind of flashcards or extra math, you know, the extra math website or anything like that to get her to memorize her math facts. She's just doing it because of the repetition that's in her actual math curriculum. So I know that other math curriculums will introduce, for example, the nines family, and they'll spend like 1 or 2 days on it, and that is not how this curriculum is. It really camps out on everything that it does. I think the beauty of that is for a child who struggles to learn, you have plenty there to get them over that hump, and they can learn it, they can memorize it. But then if you have a child that's moving more quickly, you could easily skip a few lessons and move on to the next new thing. I would say that this is definitely a spiral math curriculum because concepts that are introduced do come back. And so each worksheet will have kind of like the new thing that you're working on, and then it'll have some review stuff. So the way this math program works is there is a teacher book, and for the level 2, there's actually 2 teachers workbook or 2 teachers manuals. So this is for workbooks 1 and 2. Workbook 1 is for lessons 1 through 40. And this is what it looks like. There's about 4 pages per day, but they're not long. It's definitely doable. And then workbook 2 is lessons 41 through 82. There are speed drills in here if you want to use those, and they're just integrated into the actual workbook. And then there's another teacher's manual for the second half of the course, which is workbooks 3 and 4. So again, you have 2 more workbooks like this for the rest of the course. There's 170 lessons in Rod and Staff math. Usually what I do is just cut the binding off of this and go ahead and 3-hole punch them and just use these like worksheets. The other thing about Rod and Staff is they do have extra practice worksheets. In level 1, it was this huge like whole full ream of paper practice sheets that you could get, and it was a separate thing. These I believe were also separate, but they're in 2 workbooks. They're a little bit thicker than the regular workbooks, but it's just extra things that you can work on. And it will tell you in the teacher's manual when, like, which worksheets correspond to what you're working on, which is super helpful. I have not had to use much of this with Sophie. Even with her special needs, we really have not needed this because I feel like the curriculum is so thorough that she's really just picking it up. So I definitely want to have these just in case, but I don't think we'll be using much of this. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about language arts. Y'all may know that we have switched Sophie to Happy Cheetah Reading. So Sophie has used so many different reading curriculums. We started out with Abeka, and that did well for a while, and then it started going too fast for her. And then we moved to sing, spell, read, and write, and I had kind of the same situation there where it started out pretty good and then it started moving too quickly. We also tried the Good and the Beautiful. We had success with the pre-K and level K primer, but then the kindergarten level started moving too fast. Also, it was a very heavy phonics-based program, and phonics is a little bit more difficult for Sophie because of her childhood apraxia of speech. So, and we also tried All About Reading. I had the same thing. We just kind of would hit a brick wall at some point. We also tried Master Books, language lessons for a living education, and had the same problem with that. We did very well with Foundations Phonics, but then once we moved into the book after that, it just kind of moved a little too quickly with too much focus on phonics and not enough repetition of sight words. So, in doing some research, I found Happy Cheetah. I found actually several programs, but I reached out to some friends, and Katie at Life in the Mundane highly recommended Happy Cheetah, so I ended up buying that. We started Sophie in their kindergarten level. I started her in the middle of kindergarten, probably maybe around October of this current school year, her second grade year. She finished that very quickly, and then we moved in, so that was workbook 1. There's a pre-workbook that goes before that in kindergarten, but that was pretty much the same as Foundations Phonics, and I felt like she had nailed that and didn't need it. So we started in workbook 1. She finished that. About a week ago, she finished workbook 2, which was the first workbook for their first grade level. Right now, she's in workbook 3, which is the second book in their first grade level. This has 112 lessons. So she's working in this now, and I expect her probably to be finished with this by the end of October or possibly a little bit sooner than that. But Happy Cheetah has handwriting, it has reading, phonics, and it also has like your grammar, you know, that kind of thing. So we really, really like it for Sophie. It's highly repetitive with the words, and even though there are sight words in here for sure, and I would say that that's probably the benefit of this for Sophie, is that it is more of a sight words approach, but they definitely still have phonics, and the phonics really kind of comes out more in the spelling. So they're constantly having you build words with like magnet letters and things like that, or word boxes trying to spell out words. And she uses her phonics to do that. She's gotten very good at that. She knows all of her letter sounds and her digraph sounds and things like that, so doing that is fairly easy for her. But the act of actually sounding out a word, and you know what, like kids normally learn to read, and they'll read a few sight words and then they'll sound out like a ton of words. Well, she can't really do that with her childhood apraxia of speech, and so she needs to be able to recognize words. And I've kind of realized that I think what Sophie does is actually she almost forms a picture of the word in her mind and memorizes how it sounds. So again, I wanted an approach like this because I had done some research that children with Down syndrome often cannot use phonics to learn to read, that it becomes a stumbling block. So I thought that that might be the same with Sophie, with her also having a genetic condition. So workbook 3 also comes with 4 readers. So Home and Farm Animals, this is what she's in right now. Then Bugs and Small Animals, Land and Sea Animals, and the Zoo Animals. So this is what she will be doing until about October. Then when she finishes that, and she's able to do about 1 to 2 lessons a day, just depending on what kind of lesson it is. There's certain lessons that I always combine, and she's done very well with that. And then starting in late October, we're going to move her to the last workbook in Happy Cheetah Reading, which is workbook 4. This also has 112 lessons, and this is their second grade level. So once you finish the second grade level, that is it for Happy Cheetah Reading. It's done. This one also comes with Birds and Jobs, Fairy Tales Retold Part 1, Fairy Tales Retold Part 2, and then also comes with some readers, Nate the Great, Greg's Microscope, and these are the level 3 I Can Read books, The Big Balloon Race, Wagon Wheels, and Hill of Fire. So those are all included in Happy Cheetah second grade level book 4. So I do believe that she will finish that before the end of the school year, and my plan at that point is to move her into the Good and the Beautiful level 2, or assess her and see kind of where she's going to fit in and just put her in there. But my thought is that she'll probably be ready for the Good and the Beautiful level 2 at that point, since that's sort of more of a 3rd grade level, but we'll see. So that's what my plan is right now. But I've kind of learned with Sophie that you can make the grandest of plans and it doesn't necessarily work. You just have to go with what works for her. So that's what I have planned right now for language arts and math. Next up is science. I feel kind of like Sophie is really not ready for a 3rd grade, like regular 3rd grade science. So I'm going to stick with the Master Books God's Design for Beginners. This was short and sweet and very good for Sophie. There's coloring sheets, there's word tracing, and it gives you just enough information to kind of keep them interested, but just not too much. So this is an example here on thunderstorms. So this is Heaven and Earth for Beginners, and the topics are Weather and Water for Beginners, Universe for Beginners, and Planet Earth for Beginners. She really, really loved the God's Design Life for Beginners. We use that this year, and so I definitely wanted to move to this. My plan after this, which would be in her following school year, is going to be to move to the Good and the Beautiful Science Unit Studies, because I think she'll really enjoy them. I just think she's not quite ready for those yet. So we're going to do this for science, along with some, I guess I'll call this supplemental reading. So what I do is I assign these as just an extra reader whenever we get to that related topic in the book that she's going to be using. So Down Comes the Rain, Snow is Falling, Flash, Crash, Rumble and Roll, What Makes Day and Night. And these, what I like about these is it just gives a good bit more detail, but she still finds these interesting, and then she likes to reread them later. So she says that she has a library in her room, and Daddy will go and check out a book at the library and read with her later. So as soon as we finish with it for school, it goes into her library. So What Makes Day and Night, and then Sunshine Makes the Seasons, The Planets in Our Solar System, The Sun and the Moon, Let's Go Rock Collecting, Volcanoes, and Follow the Water from Brook to Ocean. So that's our plan for science. Okay, so for Bible, we're going to continue reading through the Bible with her older sister, and I'm also going to be reading through this little book called Theology, or Theology, and I'm going to be reading through this book with Sophie just during our morning time. This is a really sweet little book. It says on the back, Deep Truth Simply Told. This beautifully illustrated storybook ushers children into a story of adventure, mystery, and wonder, which they discover life-changing truths about God, themselves, and the world around them. So this is going to be what I'm going to use for Bible this year. And then last, for history, I'm going to use my favorite history curriculum, which is The Good and the Beautiful. This is, we have used all kinds of different history curriculum, mystery of history, story of the world. We've pretty much done it all. Master books. This is my favorite history curriculum, and we have been using this for the past 3 years for morning time, and Sophie's been sitting in on it, and she really enjoys it. So I think she's ready to kind of go all in with this year. So my plan is to, I will do some read alouds. I'm not necessarily going to choose the ones that they suggest in here. I'm gonna just choose ones that I think will work better or whatever. I may use some of them and not use, all of them, but I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use the games, and I'm also going to use the Year 1 Student Explorer. We haven't done that in the past, but I think she's ready for that now. So the grade 1 through 3 Unit Explorer has some copywork, some coloring sheets, it's got some maps, things like that. It's not anything that takes too long or has too much writing. I do have to watch the amount of writing and curriculum that I select for Sophie, because I want to make sure that we save the handwriting, which is extremely hard for Sophie, for her math and language arts, where I feel like it's more important, and not do tons and tons of copy work for like history and science. So I have to be pretty careful with that. The Good and the Beautiful History Year 1 also comes with the Big Book of History Stories, which Sophie loves, so we'll be using that. It also comes with a game, which I forgot to bring down, but we'll be using the game as well. And like I said, we'll just be choosing our own. I'm gonna use chapter books this year with Sophie for our read alouds. I feel like this is the first year that she's really ready for that. But I'm probably going to start with Little House in the Big Woods as our first reader to go along with this. All right, so that is what we're going to be using for Sophie for 3rd grade. If you have any questions about any of the curriculum here, definitely let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer those questions if I can. I will try to link everything in the description box so that you can take a closer look if you want to do that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.